Well, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. My name is Jeremy Freeman, and this is my son Caleb. And
I'm Caleb Freeman.
and this is a picture of Caleb prior to his accident. Caleb was in a automobile accident on December the 19th of 2017. He was 16 years old at the time. He was hit, as you can see on the picture there, significant damage. A semi-truck hit him. T-boned him on that side, 75,000 pounds. Caleb took a direct hit to his head and suffered what's called the diffuse axonal brain injury. There are 3 grades to that, and grade 3 is the worst, and Caleb suffered a grade 3 brain injury, which is basically like a shaken baby injury where the neurons just get severed, and research says 90% never wake up. They didn't expect Caleb to live through the night, much less wake up. And so they said if he does wake up, he'll never be normal. He'll never eat again, never walk again, never talk again. And they were preparing us for the worst. But like our brother said, we were here by the grace of God and by a lot of great interventions, one of those being hyperbarics, which we'll talk about. Caleb was in a coma for 10 weeks, 8 weeks, but really started responding about 10 weeks after the accident. So virtually nothing for 10 weeks. And one day he nodded his head ever so slightly, and we knew he was in there. And we had deep faith that he was going to come out, but we were waiting. We went to Denver, Colorado, where he was at Craig Hospital for 5 months. Then we went to Omaha, Nebraska, where he was at another rehab facility for 3 months. And then he had his ear reconstructed. He lost his left ear virtually, almost all that. He reconstructed in Boise, Idaho, and he went back to school last year. These pictures are just different places of Caleb and his journey. And we have, you see in the middle there, he got down to about 120 pounds. He's clearly not that right now, nice and healthy.
Yeah. But I'm not fat like you.
Caleb has quite the sense of humor, I might add. So I never know what he's going to say, just for the record. But a lot of therapy in his life. I can't remember exactly when we got the phone call, but the Conradis reached out to us once we got back to Oklahoma and introduced us to hyperbarics. We were unaware of hyperbaric. It's amazing. In all of those months, nobody ever said anything to us about hyperbaric treatment. But I think the next picture shows his process there. And so Caleb did 40 dives in 2018. We finished that up and we took some time off. At the end of those 40 dives, Caleb was kind of beginning to walk on his own, but he was able to walk up and down a football field 14 times unassisted, which was huge. Then we took a break and we did 40 more dives, 80 dives, and maybe you saw this on the news last week, but Caleb, his goal, he was the #1 cross-country runner on his team as a sophomore in high school, and his goal was to get back. He's a senior this year. His goal was to get back and run. So the very last cross-country race of the season was at Carl Albert High School. Caleb runs for Newcastle, and he got to run the race. Normally, Caleb could do 5K in about 17 minutes. It took him 51 minutes and 10 seconds, but he finished. And he had, it was amazing. He had 100. When he, go ahead.
They're really just clapping because for the first time ever, you finally got the time right.
Yeah, I used to say 51:44, and he said 51:10. Don't take those 34 seconds away from me. But I got it right this time.
Yeah, if anyone else is a runner here, they know how much 34 seconds means.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Especially when you're fighting for every step. But 100 of those runners came back and finished that race with him. And before we knew it, Caleb was on CNN and NBC and people and all this stuff. People were following his story because there's a picture there. We've made a documentary of Caleb's story called Caleb's Hope that we're trying to get in theaters and stuff. And we like to say that Caleb's running. He's just running a different race. And we don't believe God's finished with him yet. So he's getting ready to go through 40 more hyperbaric treatments. And that would give him 120 hyperbaric treatments. So, Caleb, how do you think hyperbaric has helped you?
Yeah, hyperbarics help me a lot. Like a lot of people may think that I'm where I am today because of other therapies and stuff. But I remember this past summer, for a 2-week time period, we took a break from every therapy except for just went to hyperbaric oxygen. And that's where I truly saw the greatest impact of me healing.
And what are some examples of that? What have you noticed?
First I've noticed my ataxia has gotten a lot better. Like my hand used to shake all the time, and now it hardly shakes. Like I can hold it still. And I also noticed a great impact in my walking. It's gotten a ton better ever since then.
Yeah, and I think that from our perspective, my wife and I, what we've seen with Caleb is he tends to make great leaps after the treatments. And so after the 40 treatments, he was able to do the football field a number of times. After the 80 treatments, here he was able to actually run a 3.1 miles, and he did the whole thing by himself. And so we see advancement with his ataxia. That's the shakiness of his right hand. His speech is improving every day. I think his mental clarity and ability to retain things is improved as well. And so we're strong supporters of hyperbarics.
After I do 40 more, I'll just be kind of pumped up that I'll be the first person to 120 dives.
That's right. Is that right? First one to 120 dives. At their clinic, at Oasis Hyperbaric. But anyway, that's our story. That's our family. And we're glad to be here today and hope that Hyperbarics gets to a place where it's more funded. Of course, it's like anything. People that need it obviously usually can't afford it. And they have been so good. Oasis has been so good to work with us to get Caleb, because our insurance did not approve that. And so they've worked with us to be able to provide those treatments for him. And we're so thankful. So thank you for your time today, Mr. Chairman.